Okay, this is our first Q&A video. I'm gonna try not to ramble, which I can't make any promises, but before we answer questions, I just wanted to say this whole YouTube thing is weird. When we knew that we were gonna travel for a year and that Hayes was at the time not yet even 2, we knew we wanted to document our travels. I've always been an over-documenter. Hayes pooped. Is this too much information? And because we've been addicted to YouTube for years and years and years and years and love watching people's travels, but also people's daily vlogs and all sorts of weird stuff, we thought we would put it on YouTube. So the fact that there are actually people watching us is still sort of wild.
With actual questions.
With actual questions. I love watching Q&A videos. The act of filming one feels a little weird and vain, but we said, you know, maybe when we hit 5,000 subscribers, there'll be some questions and we can try to do a Q&A video if it's of interest. So thank you for watching so much and for asking questions, and now we have over 10,000 subscribers. So just thank you to everybody that has clicked one of our silly little travel videos and watched it and commented and let us know where you're from and bought us a coffee on Buy Me a Coffee. That is wild that you would support us to keep making these. It's all crazy and we're so appreciative. And truly, I know everybody says this, all of this feels so cliche. I love when people comment and I love reading them and I love hearing where you're from. There's been some comments saying we remind them of traveling with their kids, or there's a lot of Koreans elsewhere in the world that love seeing Korea. There's people planning trips that have commented to say that our videos are somehow helpful. Anyway, I just want to let you know how much we appreciate that and how much fun we are having. So thank you. This feels really weird to be doing, but there were some questions. If this isn't your kind of video, that's fine, move along. But we're gonna answer them over the course of the next kind of day or couple of days that we're on this beautiful boat in Halong Bay. So thank you. This is long overdue also, sorry for procrastinating. Have a look what's happening over here though. What's he even selling?
No, it's laundry handover.
Oh, it's laundry. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we hope you find something in here interesting or useful. I don't know.
Wait, is the ship on a lean or
It's
is
fine.
it the camera?
It's fine. Y'all aren't watching me because I'm an expert? Come on. This first question is from MHN7700. I have only watched a couple of videos so far, but I'm already curious about the logistics and somewhat economics of things. Who finds and books the places you stay, the flights you take, the tours and different activities you do? You or Airbnb? And who pays for what? How much freedom and say in this adventure do you have? Well, that's a great place to start. So for those of you that don't know, and those of you that fast forward through our cheesy little intro, we were incredibly fortunate to be selected for a program with Airbnb.
Wow. Well done.
Thank you so much. Called Live Anywhere on Airbnb. The program was sort of born out of the pandemic, where their data suggested that people were not only staying longer in Airbnbs, but staying in more diverse locations, so more rural places, not just big tourism cities. So they launched this program to understand what people are looking for when they choose to stay somewhere longer. So the way the program works is that we are given 10 months to travel anywhere in the world, and basically we have a set amount of Airbnb credits in our account. This is probably a terrible place to film this, it's like motors everywhere, that are just like money. So when we go and choose an Airbnb listing, we are booking it just like anybody else, except that we're doing it with credits from Airbnb, which is incredible. So we were given a budget and told that the program lasts 10 months. The credits don't expire until the end of this year, so we will be continuing to travel a little bit. But other than that, we treat the platform just like normal customers. We can choose wherever we want to go, whatever listing we want to be in, and we book it normally. People don't know that we're one of 12 people in this program traveling throughout the year.
I hope you heard that with this boat in the background.
Yeah, me too. We'll find out. So we find and book the places. The locations and the listings, totally up to us. I think you meant like, is it us or is it Airbnb? It's us, and then between us, it's me. Flights were on our own, so they did give us a little bit of a travel stipend. You might have noticed that we are crisscrossing the globe and going all sorts of places, so we blew through that pretty quickly, but you could have chosen to stay in one country, one location, whatever.
And some of that was a little bit determined by COVID in terms of where we could go and where we couldn't go. So Joe, one of our subscribers from Thailand. Hi Joe, you've been following along, commenting on all the videos. Thank you, much appreciated. You asked, is it hard to take care of little Hayes while traveling with all the luggage? What would you say?
I would say that Pete and I were very well traveled before Hayes and quite good at it, I would say, I think, and traveled very lightly. And we have not figured out how to travel lightly with a 2.5-year-old.
Hayes definitely has the most stuff, but it's all, yeah, I would say it's all pretty manageable.
Super manageable. So what we're traveling, we each have a carry-on, we each have a backpack with our like computers and stuff. Hayes has a diaper bag that we only use on long travel days, but a diaper bag, a duffel bag with his clothes, a stroller, a cot, because he wasn't yet 2. Now we're like, do we abandon it? Anyway, a travel cot that we love, a car seat. Right now we're traveling with a helmet for biking. He has a ton of stuff.
One really, I don't know if this is helpful, but one useful thing that we bought was this massive bag from Amazon that we put a lot of his stuff in when we do check it on planes. So that really helps, so we can put his bed in there, his car seat, and another bag sometimes.
I have a lot of opinions on packing. I have a lot of opinions, full stop. I just realized, I don't know if that question was about like actually packing or the actual act of traveling while also dealing with all the luggage. And I will say, we're using the stroller less and less now the older he gets, but the fact that we have something to contain him while we're waiting to get on a train or an airplane, or if we don't want him to fall off a boat, that does become handy. What's been the highlight of this year so far?
What's been the highlight of this year so far? Oh, this is like one of those questions. Sorry. Highlight of this year so far has been spending every day with Hayes and my beautiful wife.
Repeat. E. Chapin M asks, which country has the best public transportation?
Hands down, Seoul, South Korea. So good. Buses, as well as the metro. Loved it.
Alright, Green Global Trek, Pete and Ben, they are other participants on this program, and they ask, what are the pros and cons to moving constantly with Hayes? So I think first I would say is that yes, 1 month is a very short period of time in the scheme of things, but before we were selected for this program, we were thinking about traveling for a year, and I don't think we would have spent a month in each location, so it actually feels like we're getting to spend more time. The biggest pro, just from like a functionality standpoint, is not having to pack and unpack and repack all the time. I think I said earlier, we are traveling with so much more stuff than we're used to, so that's a big pro. Another pro is just like constantly having new scenery, new places, so he gets to see elephants and monkeys, he rides boats, he takes trains. It's like all of these things that you would be reading about in children's books back home, he's like living in everyday life and then traveling across the world and doing it differently somewhere else.
I would say it also makes him really adaptable because we're just changing stuff up on him all the time, and so he's just getting thrown into a bunch of different situations, scenarios and stuff like that, and he does awesome, does so well. So it's cool to kind of keep doing that because I think it's really helpful.
Absolutely. And then cons, I would say the biggest con is not having kids his age everywhere and for long periods of time, because at home we had him in daycare and he'll be 3 in October, so I feel like we're just getting towards that age where he would actually be building kind of friendships, and so it's super rewarding to see him become really friendly and go up to strangers in playgrounds and play with kids around the world, but we miss that kind of daily contact with the same people for hours a day in that more traditional setting. So I wouldn't change it for the world, but that I would say it's a con.
Yeah, no, definitely. We talk about it a lot and how, like, at some point we're going to obviously need to have or be in a place for a longer period of time, and we're super excited for that because he's at that age now where he definitely is forming friendships with other kids, and that just would be really cool to see over a longer period of time.
Well, thanks, Peter and Ben. Vina on Instagram asked, what's the most difficult part of traveling and what has been the most surprising easy part? Love that question. I mean, it's really hard to consider calling anything difficult this year. This is a dream come true. The way we're getting to do it is incredible. I will say that something that surprised me from like a challenging perspective at the beginning was just how constant it is, which again is not a complaint, because literally like the fact that I get to wake up and my whole entire day-to-day life is consumed with travel planning and going out and finding fun things and reading about cities and researching places is a dream come true. So again, not complaining. It's like the fact that that's my stressor is incredible and a dream come true, but it's constant because you're figuring out where to go. How do you get there? What are the COVID requirements? Is it gonna be okay for Hayes? Looking at Airbnbs for hours and hours and hours because we're spending a month in these places. What are we gonna do when we wake up in the morning? How do we maximize our time? It's nonstop, which is incredible. And I wouldn't say difficult, but certainly time consuming in the best way ever. What would you say is difficult?
Difficult is the travel days. We had some really, really long, big travel days. Very tiring, exhausting, especially, you know, with Hayes. But the minute that you get there, you very, very quickly forget about it. Like,
and those have been our own choices. We decided to fly from Cape Town to Johannesburg to London to Paris and then take 2 trains to visit our friends in Montpellier. Speaking of which, there was a question, when are you coming back to Montpellier? And Jeffrey and Ludo, we'd love to see you anytime. The next time we fly across Europe, we will consider doing that. There was also a question, when are we coming to Singapore, Kim? We'd love to, and also Philly, Eliza, we'll see you sometime soon. The second part of Vina's question was, what was the most surprising, easy part? Which I think is a really cool question because when we started, Hayes was not yet 2 years old, and I had no idea what that meant, or even if we would like traveling with a kid. I think a lot of people love traveling. It does not mean that they love or want to travel with a kid, and that is fine. And so it's been nice to realize that we still love it. And something I've been surprised about is like, this may sound weird, but like how infrequently not resent, but how infrequently I think, oh, I wish it was just me and Pete in our 20s doing what we used to do, because I thought that I thought that I would like traveling with Hayes, but I also thought that perhaps more often I would think, oh, I wish it was just us. And I certainly do. There are days when it's like, I wish we could go to a coffee shop and just linger around. I wish we could go out at night and get a few drinks easily. But on the whole, it's just like a new life stage and a new type of travel, and we really love it.
Yeah, I wish we had started YouTube earlier because we have traveled a lot, but I feel like you quickly forget about things unless you write a journal or whatever. Steph's always done some sort of like home videos and photos in the past, which have been amazing, but doing these videos, because we're traveling so much, we're experiencing so much cool stuff, you know, we quickly forget about it, so it's gonna be really great, you know, sometime when we're older or whatever, to sit down and watch them again. So.
Yeah, that wasn't related to the question, but that's an interesting fact. There you go.
Exactly.
Bonus!
Thanks.
Okay, we're gonna go enjoy this beach and we'll answer some questions on the boat later. Cheers.
Cheers.
We're back on the boat, we're freshened up. As soon as Pete puts on a shirt, we'll answer some of the finance questions, because understandably there were a few of those. Hey, do you have anything you want to add to this Q&A?
Mommy, you have a chicken for me?
Oh, I have a chicken for you.
One?
No,
One?
I don't have a chicken for you.
Ow! Oh.
I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry.
Were you recording all that?
Yeah.
What did that hurt you then?
I hurt my arm. I caught my arm in the chair.
Anyway, okay. Question from Matthew. Matthew's been watching our videos a while. Thank you, Matthew.
You can baby that for me.
If anybody else's son refused to eat watermelon if they can see a single seed on it. Okay, Matthew said, how do you afford all the traveling? Apart from the accommodation provided by Airbnb, I assume you pay everything else from your own pocket. Yes, Matthew, we do. So basically, I'm trying to not ramble. Pete and I always knew that when we had a kid, we wanted to travel around the world for a year. We weren't really sure what age. Arbitrarily, we had decided between 3 and 4 would be perfect. Don't know why. Hayes will be 3 in October. Then we saw the Airbnb. Program.
More seats.
And we were like, well, let's apply for that. There's no way we're gonna win. But if we do, maybe we can figure out how to travel with a 2-year-old. So, long story short, we had been saving in Chattanooga. Then COVID happened, and luckily we kept our jobs. And so during a time when we couldn't leave the house, we couldn't do anything, we had a 5-month-old, we really were not spending money. We actually saved a little bit quicker than we were previously. And so when the Airbnb opportunity came about, we thought, okay, you know what? We looked at our finances, we said, I think we can do this. Because we have the savings, but also Airbnb is removing the biggest line item from a budget, which is obviously accommodation. Not only removing that line item, but it's more than we would have spent on our own when we were kind of making spreadsheets about what this year might look like. So the opportunity was too good to pass up, and luckily we had the savings to jump on it.
I'd also add, thanks to the Airbnb program, we were able to put our own house on Airbnb. And then, we were able to use some of the income from that as well to help support our travels.
Which is the next question, which is from a Korean name that I don't read Korean yet. How do you make money for the trip around the world? And so mostly we don't. We quit our jobs for this opportunity. It seemed like a once in a lifetime thing. That was really scary to say, are we actually gonna quit our jobs? We both had jobs we were happy at, and they enabled us to save for this year, so they were, good. We were in a good place, but we couldn't pass this up. So when we left, we also put our home on Airbnb. We have been Airbnb hosts since 2012. We hosted over 100 guests in our spare bedrooms in London, Mumbai, and Chattanooga. But we always rented a room in our home. So we were like very committed Airbnb hosts, in it for, yes, the money, but more like meeting people, traveling the world. So we had never put our entire home on Airbnb, but we knew that when we left, we thought we wanted to do that instead of long-term renters, and we did, and we've been very lucky that that has brought in a good amount of income. Not enough for us to not pull out of savings, but yeah, we're certainly having to transfer kind of less and less over the more our Airbnb picks up, so we're really fortunate with that. And then
it also really helps watching these YouTube videos.
The only other way we make money is through YouTube. We got monetized in December, and YouTube, everybody will tell you, is very unreliable. It's very inconsistent. So for example, nobody was watching our videos while we were in South Africa and Mexico. I don't know why, I guess those aren't popular. And then luckily for us, Korea has been very, very popular, which means we've gotten a little bit more money from that. So we're really appreciative when you do watch the videos, but we also know not to count on it.
Right.
But yeah, those are our only 2 income streams, Airbnb and YouTube. Both pretty inconsistent and certainly not enough to sustain our travels fully right now. We can be hopeful.
May I order a drink?
Rashito on Instagram asked, how do you guys put Hayes down and then go out after? We haven't been going out that much because when we do, it means we either have a babysitter or my parents are in town and they're at home with Hayes. So we've only been out a handful of times, but it means that when we do go out, we tend to have a really nice time. If you haven't yet seen it, we have a night out in Seoul, and soon we have a really cool video coming about a secret cocktail experience in Hoi An. Maybe in the bar, maybe in the bar. Do you miss your cats? Do you miss your cats?
I'll let Ken answer that one.
Miles, would you like 2 cats? 2 cats!
Of course I miss our cats.
For those of you that don't know, my parents kindly are keeping our 2 cats, Idley and Sambor, while we're away, and they're not thrilled. Okay, we tried to film outside with a beautiful backdrop, but the humidity fogged up the camera. Just waiting for the camera to unfog. Adjust! So somebody asked what are the best and worst things about traveling with a toddler. And I would say the best thing is that you can be in a place you've been before, or a place that maybe you don't find that exciting. For example, waiting for a train on the metro in Korea and there's a ramp that Hayes just loves to slide down. Little mundane moments, or places you think you know, are totally different when you're seeing them through the eyes of a 2.5-year-old. Which is so cheesy, but I promise it's like you're getting to watch somebody like experience the world for the first time, and that keeps it really exciting and entertaining. And that's super cliche and cheesy, but I believe it.
Yeah, sorry.
Best thing?
Worst.
Well, worst thing. Okay.
Was
Straight to the worst.
no,
thing.
no. I wasn't gonna.
Yeah.
You still had the best thing.
No, that was my best.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, I have another best. The other best thing is that it's really easy to have like local interactions. I wouldn't say it's easier to meet people and form like real relationships, but as far as like the number of like little daily interactions we have on public transportation or at museums or this and that, it's more because people tend to love kids, and Hayes is pretty cute. So that's been fun to just like have all those little interactions all the time. I remember the first time we traveled, period. We visited friends in DC. Hi Rachel, if you're watching. Last July, and Hayes was 18 months or so. Anyway, we hadn't been anywhere because of COVID. And the lady at the TSA line was so nice to him and just like friendly and gave him a little sticker, and I was just like, oh my God, we've never been traveling with him. This is such a cool little moment. And now we have dozens of those every day. It's really exciting. Okay, worst.
Now, I mean, not to be
Yeah,
not to
let's
be
do it.
negative, Nancy, but okay, he's what, two and a half, and by every day he's getting more and more energy. So it's pretty exhausting keeping up with him. Also means that you're not able to have some downtime sometimes to, you know, just go and sit in a coffee shop and plan, you know, where we're going next and some travel details and all that kind of stuff. So it's just constant, it's all the time. And that leads into the second one, which is that he goes to bed pretty early. So, you know, normally we would enjoy cities and places that we are at in the evening. We're not really able to do that as much. We do sort of push it sometimes now and again, but overall we kind of are in pretty early.
And I'll touch on this in another question because I think we have some jet lag questions, but he does nap for 2 hours every day, which is nice. But during the other times of the day, you can't tell a 2.5-year-old, oh hey, we're just gonna sit here and grab a coffee and look out the window for a little while. Okay, while we're sort of on the subject of sleep, Sarah Taus and M. Beck on Instagram asked, best learning/tips about jet lag for kids, how long does it take Hayes to adapt, and how does Hayes cope with jet lag? So, I will say, we are those obnoxious parents whose child slept through the night. Hi, Dad. How does Hayes cope with jet lag?
Oh, it was working.
Better than you, I guess is the answer. He's better than this guy. I think we sort of lucked out when it came to jet lag too. The first, Hayes had been to England to see his parents when he was 9 months, and then the next time he traveled overseas was Italy last September, and it was really a non-issue. He was just under 2 years then. It continued to not be too much of an issue. We tried to just get back on schedule and keep the routine until we flew from Mexico City to Seoul, which is a long journey, and it hit us all like a ton of bricks. We were jet lagged for about a week. So I'm sorry that I don't have an answer to your question, and I understand that most people aren't traveling so long term that you can afford to feel jet lagged for an entire week, but it was a rough week. It's tough. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, I used to travel and feel jet lagged and take a nap, and now there's this toddler.
But that's the only time that
That's really been the only time.
Taken us a little bit longer. And I was going to add that I think we try and get him to sleep as much as we can on flights, and I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but he does sleep pretty well.
Even if it's not the right time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
we're not sticklers for rules, so there's probably somebody better to learn for on jet lag.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing is that because we're traveling for a year, we've traveled a lot, but a lot of the legs, even though we've crisscrossed the world because of COVID, I think there's a question on that, a lot of the legs haven't had major time differences. So there's only been a few times this year where we've had something like that Mexico to Korea kind of time difference. So we're not experts. I'm sorry, we don't have the answers. Okay, one more before we change locations. It's getting a bit moist in here. Our friend Vina on Instagram also asked, how do you think a lack of COVID restrictions would have changed your trip? Another great question, Vina. I think if COVID didn't exist, we probably would have sat down as soon as we were selected and mapped out a whole year. So I think actually COVID forcing us to be more flexible and spontaneous has been a really good outcome of this year. Prior to this year, when I planned a trip, I spent hours and months in advance researching, booking places, looking at all the options, which was great. It means I planned some good trips, but I didn't know how to travel this way before this year. So an example of that is when we started this year, I think we thought we'd only go to big cities because we have to spend 1 month in each location and we're not working. So we thought big city, plenty to do. We couldn't be based anywhere else. And then we started looking at Sri Lanka and chatting with Ben and Peta, 2 other participants on the program and some other people. And we based ourselves in Unawatuna, which was the most kind of rural location we've been to. And we had an amazing time. And had we planned out the whole year and then gotten there and decided we liked it and then only had cities lined up, that would have been disappointing. But because we didn't, then we started thinking, okay, what are other kind of places we would like? And right now we're based in Hoi An. We're currently in Halong Bay, but we're spending a month in Hoi An, which is one of the smaller cities we've stayed in and is already like one of our favorites. So I think the fact that it forces us to be more flexible has been really, really good because we've been able to keep an open mind and try a lot of new things. On the flip side, because of COVID and places not being open and not understanding what's going to open, we haven't necessarily been able to plan out the year in a way that makes a lot of geographic sense or financial sense based on flight prices. So for example, we flew to Thailand in December thinking that we could spend maybe the rest of the program, if not just several months in Asia, because we figured that things would start opening. Then Omicron hit and they didn't, so then we were in Sri Lanka with no idea where to go, and we went to Cape Town, then we ultimately ended up in Mexico City because our philosophy has been, well, let's just go where we want to go this year, even if it doesn't make a ton of sense flight path-wise.
Japan is still a country that we're not able to go to because of restrictions, so that was on our absolute like
That's on everybody. I will speak for the whole Live Anywhere group when I say that like everybody wants to go to Japan. I think the whole world wants to go to Japan right now because you want what you can't have, and they've been closed for over 2 years. They're slowly opening, so we're a little bit optimistic. So yeah, it's impacted our year in that way for sure too, and that there's places you just can't go. But I don't know, I don't want to sound like stupidly optimistic, but it's nice to see the positive in these things, and we maybe wouldn't have been to Sri Lanka, maybe wouldn't have edged out other places, and it's been, when people ask one of our favorite places this year, that's the one I always think of. Cape Town's another one that we were curious about, but it wasn't kind of edging out other places. And so that was great too. MBeck3 on Instagram asks, does Hayes miss having toys? And what toys does he have? So I think I'll let his grandparents answer this one, because the reason he has the toys he has is because they fly and meet us a lot of places.
We always bring toys when we come. Hayes is always happy to see us.
The most recent toys that they brought, we abandoned his set of Duplo at home when we left in September because it's kind of a lot. But now that he's a little bit older and it's harder to occupy his time for more than 5 seconds, we actually bought a new set and we had the grandparents mule them over to Vietnam, and they've been a big hit. So right now Duplo, I think they're the favorite toys.
What about the bubble machine? Was that a happy thing?
Oh, there's been a bubble machine that has come to and from almost every continent this year. By the way, for anybody new here, these are my parents, Ellen and Ken, or as Hayes calls them, 10 and 11. They requested I turn the camera back on because they seem to have brought clown noses with them. One person asked, how old is Hayes now? There's an easy one for you to answer.
At 2.5.
When's
Almost 3 in October.
It'll be 3 on October 12th. Good evening. All right, good evening. I hope you can hear us, there's some music. But Rory Newman on YouTube asked, out of all the countries you've visited, which ones would you go back and live in?
Great question, by the way. I think it's a toss-up between Thailand and Korea for me. And I don't know, I'm gonna say maybe Thailand.
Well, luckily we agree. I would say the same too. And I would say if we didn't have a lot of money, Thailand, and if we had more money, Korea. And I guess if we had all the money in the world, I would go back to Rome and Athens as well, but probably still choose Bangkok or Seoul.
Yeah, I agree.
Honestly though, we would probably go back and live in almost every single place we visited.
I think Hayes would say Sri Lanka because he loved the coconuts and the beaches.
Big Pete just answered another question, which was from World Ruler on YouTube, asking which place Hayes enjoyed the most, and he said food, weather, friends, etc. So Sri Lanka on the whole, probably because he loves beaches and we went to so many beaches in Sri Lanka. Friends, Hoi An, because he's met a little good group of friends. And food, we started in Rome and he ate a lot of pizza and pasta and gelato. So food, probably Italy. On YouTube, Jin Mi Song asked, why did you decide to travel all around the world? Are there any reasons for that decision? I'm also curious about your job before this trip and what is your plan after this one-year trip? Why did we decide to travel around the world? We love traveling. We've always loved traveling, and we didn't want to wait till, hey, we also wanted to have a child, and we didn't want to have our life from traveling stop until he's 18, so we were like, let's see what it's like to travel with him. We knew that before kindergarten, he doesn't have to be in school, so that was an opportunity, and we had just started spreadsheets and planning and saving to figure out what a year of travel would look like. Literally had seriously started talking about it about a month before Airbnb launched this program. Our jobs before this, we both quit our jobs to travel the world, but we both had jobs we were happy with in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I worked for Chattanooga Tourism Company, which is the tourism board, so I was marketing Chattanooga, Tennessee as a destination for visitors. You should all come visit. It's a wonderful place.
I worked for the Chattanooga Football Club, and I ran an after-school program across Chattanooga. Yeah, worked on the club for game day operations and things like that. So.
And as far as what we're doing next, we're gonna answer, there's a bunch of those questions and we're still in the denial phase, so we're gonna save those for the end of this video. All right, we're at the airport now. We meant to answer more this morning on the boat. We still haven't answered any of the questions about what's next. So I'm gonna do another easy one. Our friend Jeffrey asked, what's the best bite so far? Only one answer per person. I'm gonna cheat, and I promise, G, I'm not kissing ass. Jeffrey is our friend who lives in Montpellier, and 2 of my memorable bites are with him. I'll say we started the trip in Rome, and the question is best bite, not what would you want to eat every day, because if it's what do you want to eat every single day, it would have to be somewhere in Asia. Best bite, I remember that carbonara at Roscioli during the Great Roman Pasta Tour 2021 so well, but also those mussels in Montpellier. So I've already cheated twice. A more recent bite from Asia, which is typically my favorite kind of cuisine, is a meal we didn't film with a friend of Pete's. Took us to this place where they made homemade tofu, unlike anything I've ever tasted, but the bite was, it's a piece of homemade tofu, a piece of like grilled pork, and then a piece of warm kimchi. That was incredible. So those are 3 bites. I'm sorry, Jeffrey, you knew that I wasn't gonna play by your rules.
Did you mention that was in Korea?
That was in Seoul, yeah, sorry.
Mine, simple, it was the fried donut with pandan custard on the streets of Bangkok. Loved it.
Pete played by your rules. All right, one more. I know it's really loud here, so maybe I'll subtitle this, but Willow Wanders on Instagram asked, what have you learned most while traveling this year? And I'm trying to think of like a really meaningful answer, but what comes to mind is I've just learned how much I love traveling. I think the more you travel, the more you realize how much you love traveling and how there's like you can't get satiated. There's always going to be something to see, and traveling with a kid is a totally new experience. So that's probably not the answer you're looking for, but I love it.
Same. It's as simple as that.
And kids are adaptable. I've learned that kids are really adaptable.
But we love travel.
Yeah, I wish that was a more meaningful answer. But thanks for asking it. I'm still cheating, but I just have been thinking about Jeffrey's question more and more, and there's another bite. On a whole,
It was just one.
I'm still thinking, I just thought about Nilu's hoppers and coconut chutney and dal in Sri Lanka. There was this woman, Nilu, a friend of Ned and Pina, who are also on the program, and she would cook homemade hoppers with homemade dal, homemade coconut chutney with coconuts grown from her backyard, and bring it to us in a tiffin. Oh, it's funny because it was the cuisine there. It's not like something I want to eat all day, every day, but that one bite, I think about a lot.
Yeah, that was good. If you're
And
gonna,
gelato,
if you're gonna
and
do this, but
gelato.
I'm gonna do it. We had pho the other morning, our first morning in Hanoi, and it was so good.
Interesting. See, the bun cha the night before made my list.
Okay, well now you're
See you
at
later. All right, it's super windy. We're back in Hoi An.
Wait, I haven't done my shirt yet.
We'll do your shirt up. he only wears 1 or 2 buttons here. Anyway, there's a whole theme of questions that we have saved for the end, which are more or less, how long are you traveling? What are you doing with your lives? When will this year end? Are you going to continue YouTube? But mostly like, what's next, more or less. We still don't have any answers, really. We need jobs at some point, probably in the fall. So we set off on September 1st last year, and the Airbnb program was 10 months. Our goal was to go for a full year. And now we're thinking, well, what if we go till Hayes' birthday as a goal, which is October 12th, so he'll have spent his entire 2nd year traveling. But we're not sure what's next right now. We're just trying to travel as long as we can. We do still have some Airbnb credits. We also have a couple sponsorship kind of things lined up that will enable us to go a little bit further. So we're kind of still playing it by ear, sticking around Southeast Asia where flights and cost of living is generally pretty cheap, and we love it over here.
Leave a comment as to what we should do.
Leave a comment if you're hiring. Put it down below. No, but seriously, we do need an income at some point. Hayes will need some sort of childcare. We obviously left Chattanooga. We're not totally committed to going back there. However, I think in like a dream world scenario, we are there in some fashion, but still have the ability to travel regularly and for longer periods of times than we were with our former 9-to-5s. But we don't know. We're trying to just carve out what a perfect world looks like and then do our best to achieve that. So no idea. We, you know, I think I thought when we left last September that we would have had it figured out by now, but we don't.
Chris and Sarah, who, thanks to them actually, we ended up doing this Airbnb program.
It was on their Instagram story.
Yeah.
That's how we saw it.
Asked us, are we going to continue doing YouTube? And I think the answer is yes, we're really enjoying it. Stephanie does about 99.9% of all of the work for the videos, and she's still enjoying it, so we will, look to continue.
We can't promise that. It's going to be a lot more difficult if we're not traveling the world. We don't know what that looks like, but we have enjoyed it a lot. We've enjoyed engaging with folks here. We enjoy looking back on our time with Hayes and seeing him grow. It's a really cool thing to document. So, yeah, as far as where we're going, there were some questions of like where we're headed. Right now we're in Vietnam. We're flying to Malaysia on Saturday, and then we're headed to the Philippines. We don't have that booked yet. If we have, I think we have some Filipino followers, so please reach out and give us recommendations. We haven't planned anything. We're trying to get back to Korea and go to Jeju, because everybody said go to Jeju, go to Jeju.
Jeju Island.
Jeju Island. Jeju-do, I believe. Anyway, if Japan opens, we'd love to go to Japan. If Taiwan opens, I don't know. So we're kind of just sticking.
And India at some point.
And
is on our
we
radar.
think we'll finish our year of traveling, or however many months of traveling, in India. It's where we called home in Mumbai for 2 years. It's probably our favorite place on the planet. We have lots of great friends there. We'd love to take Hayes back. So expect us to be in India in September, October-ish, I guess. So, if you made it this far, thank you. We appreciate you watching. If you have other questions that we didn't answer, put them in the comments. I'll absolutely answer them down there. I won't make you watch another Q&A video for a long, long time, hopefully. But we appreciate everybody that is, for some reason, interested in what we're doing. And thank you. This is really awkward. There's like people watching now, and my dad's like over here taking pictures of us. So, bye! Subscribe! I don't know why you would be watching this if you weren't already subscribed, but if you somehow found this first, we appreciate it, and you made it this far, go ahead, give us a like. By the way, I know I already closed this up, but this is technically the first in our series of Vietnam videos, and look how gorgeous it is here. So that should be another reason for you to follow along, because there's some cool stuff coming up. Look at this view. And just get used to me looking this sweaty and disgusting always. It is so hot here. All right. Wait, we've got to put Hayes in it. Where is Hayes? What are you doing?